Chapter 2. He woke up in his aunt's bed, blinking against the white glare of the morning sun. He felt her calloused hand move gently over his swollen jaw long before he saw her red-rimmed eyes peering down at him. "How do you feel, Alfred, honey?" Her voice, usually so warm and light, sounded husky and tired. "I'm okay, Aunt Pearl." "Thank the Lord!" She lowered herself to the edge of the narrow bed. "We was so scared for you, Alfred. Prayed all night, prayed to God and to your sweet mama, rest her soul, got right down on—" "It's okay, Aunt Pearl. I'm okay." He moved his legs under the sheet and then his arms, numb, aching pain everywhere, but everything moving, nothing broken. "What happened, Alfred, when Henry and Mr. Johnson carried you—" "Henry? He found you. You was wandering around with your eyes shut, and he went and got his daddy to help carry you home. What happened, Alfred?" The old stone fence off Lenox, Aunt Pearl. I was walking on it, and a big dog jumped up, knocked me off." "Uh-huh," she said, but he could see by her eyes that she knew he was lying. She turned, and he saw his 3 little cousins jammed in the doorway staring at him. "You heard what happened. Now, you go out and play. Go ahead, give Alfred a chance to rest. Charlene, you be sure you're all back for supper. Mrs. Elvison's having a party, and I'll be bringing home all kinds of good things." The twins began to edge back, but Charlene kept staring. It seemed to Alfred that her eyes were red-rimmed, too. "Go on, now." Aunt Pearl waited until they'd clattered out of the apartment and down the tenement stairs. Before she turned back to Alfred, she was frowning. "James was arrested last night for trying to break into Epstein's." "I know." "You knew about it, him going?" "Yes." "But you wasn't with him, that right?" "That's right." "He wanted you to go, that right?" When he didn't answer, she leaned closer. "Who beat you, Alfred?" "I fell off the fence." She shook her head, her hands again on his aching face. "Oh, Alfred, it's like you're my own son. I know you try so hard. You're so good. I know it ain't easy living here. Someday, we're going to move away, Alfred, and we—" She began to cry softly. After a while she rose and smoothed the front of her cotton dress. "I gotta work now, Alfred. I'll be back about 8 tonight. You rest. There's some food by the bed. You eat something right now." She paused at the door and forced a smile. Weakly he waved back and slipped again into sleep. It was noon when he woke again. His head felt clear. The pain in his arms and legs seemed to have eased. Biting carefully on aching teeth, he ate the bread and cheese and bologna she had left by the bed and drank some of the milk, now warm. Street sounds floated up through the open window, children yelling, the thud of a rubber ball against the pavement, 4 voices singing, "Hey, baby, you're number 1, you're—" Cars honking Saturday strollers out of their way. Far off he heard a police siren knife through the street noise. He felt it in his belly. James was in jail. He burrowed deeper into the bed. It was his fault, letting it slip about the money in the cash register. His fault again for not remembering about the new burglar alarm. Nice bed, soft and safe, away from all of them, he thought. Major and Hollis out on the street looking to get me. The Epsteins, they'll be asking questions on Monday morning. They know James is my best friend. Was my best friend. No partner, nothing. Stay in bed, man. Curl up like a baby. Close your eyes. Make the world go away. The big white world full of cans to stack and floors to sweep and pails of garbage to drag out back. Big job. Maybe James was right to try and get some of that money, only wrong to get caught. Just stay in bed, man, till you're 18, and then join the army. No, stay in bed forever. He made himself get up then, pushing his long, wiry legs over the edge of the bed, standing on the little throw rug until the quivering stopped. He went into the bathroom and patted cold water on his face before he looked at himself in the mirror. There were specks of dried blood in his hair. His left eye was swollen and bloodshot. His bony face was puffy, especially around the jaw and lips. There was a long scratch down the side of his nose and another high on his right cheek. Not so bad. Looked worse that time I really did fall off the stone fence. He grinned. Major and Hollis, for all their talk, they couldn't even rob a store or beat up a guy right. Just punks. And then he remembered that James was in jail, and the grin disappeared. He walked into the front room and sat down on the worn couch that opened into a double bed for Charlene and the twins. He turned on the television set. A slim, pretty white woman was standing in a shiny kitchen as big as Aunt Pearl's apartment, telling her tall, handsome husband how worried she was about Billy. He was spending all his free time in the garage, and he wouldn't let anybody in except Gus the dog. The husband puffed on his pipe and said he'd look into it, dear, and went outside, walking across a big lawn and under trees. He knocked on the garage door. Billy yelled, "Who's there?" And Dad yelled back, "The FBI!" And there was tinny-sounding laughter. Billy yelled, "Just a minute, Dad!" And there he was, about 14, scrambling around trying to hide the robot he was building. "Yeah, sure," said Alfred, snapping off the television. He went back into his aunt's bedroom. The 4 voices on the street were getting louder. "Number 1 on your top 10, you're—" But as soon as Alfred's head touched the pillow, he was falling again into sleep. The third time he awoke, it was dusk. An occasional peal of drunken laughter drowned out the hoarse yells of tired children, and the stoop chatter and the muted noise of a dozen transistors on different stations. He got up and went into the kitchen, enjoying the coolness of the cracked linoleum under his bare feet. The fold-away bed he usually slept in was tucked behind the refrigerator. He wondered if Aunt Pearl had slept in it or stayed up all night. The sharp blue slacks he had worn were in a corner next to Aunt Pearl's box of dusting rags. They were shredded. He put on a pair of clean cotton pants and the blue tennis shirt with the little alligator on the pocket that Mrs. Elverson had given him for Christmas. He slipped on the black loafers that Jeff had outgrown. Cousin Jeff. Be hearing about him tomorrow. He let himself out of the apartment quietly, so quietly that he surprised the 2 drug addicts fumbling in the hall toilet. They looked up, startled, and saw it was only Alfred, and went back to their spoons and needles. For a moment he thought they were lucky. They'd be getting out of the world for a while, but then he remembered all the old-looking, sick junkies he saw on the streets, hunched up, desperate for a fix. "Major and Sonny been looking for you," said a little boy on the stoop. Alfred nodded, trying to look cool. He went a few blocks out of his way so he could walk down an avenue where he knew he wouldn't meet Major. There were big cats there, even Major was afraid of, out to get him for something or other. The car was still cruising, guys with their Saturday night girls, guys looking for Saturday night girls. Live music floated out of an upstairs apartment, and there was a burst of laughter. Alfred jammed his hands into his pockets and walked faster. Half a dozen boys his age lounged in a corner around the apartment. He just put his hand up and walked on. People strolled by once and saw him across the street, dragging his bad leg and smiling. Was the best thing in the world. Probably coming back from the gym, thought Alfred. Then he was the podium and walked to the public stopped. Then he remembered that Henry had brought him home, and he dropped his name in the car. The passers-by stared at him. He pretended he was searching for a lost coin. He waited until Henry would turn a corner. He didn't feel like thinking anymore for anything tonight. He crossed the street and glass window with a faded letters, Dr. Arthur Corey, dentist. Above that, on a dustier window, in even more faded letters, Donatelli's Gym. A light was burning. He stood on the corner for a long time, looking up at that dim light until his neck hurt and his eyes watered. A jukebox was blaring through the open door of the bar, but he barely heard it. Donatelli's Gym. The door leading up to the dentist's office and the gym was sagging off its hinges, half open. Beyond it was darkness. Donatelli's Gym. Joe Louis had worked out there once. He remembered his father talking about how he had gone over to watch. Maybe Sugar Ray Robinson, too. They weren't no slaves, and they didn't have to bust into anybody's grocery store. They made it. They got to be somebody. He thought about going into the darkness, up to the dim light on the 3rd floor. Maybe if James was around, we could both